The concept that you want life to be easy, or the wish that you want life to be easy, is not only a flawed philosophy, it's a poor attitude to have. The reason is simply because life gives back to you what you put out. So if life seems hard, then it's a reflection of who you are within. So I would normally encourage you and encourage people, like I do myself, to try to be better. And don't wish that life were easy. Don't wish that life were less difficult. Rather wish that you had the wisdom and the understanding to be able to manage what life is bringing in your direction. Whatever life puts on you, I can promise you this, that you have the shoulder to carry it. Life never puts on you much more than you can carry. It might seem heavy. It might seem much more burdensome than you think you can endure. But one of the things that life does is it has a unique way of making you stronger. I love bodybuilding because bodybuilding is the one, I would say, sport or the one area of interest that failure is welcomed. We have a very, very, very bizarre way of perhaps negatively representing the word failure. I don't think that word should be in the dictionary, if you ask me, because I think that word has stolen more potential, limited more dreams, limited more visions, stopped people from taking a shot at life. It's hindered people reaching their highest and best endeavors. It's limited greatness because people are afraid of failure. But in bodybuilding, it's the one area in life or one area of activity where, for professional bodybuilders, you're allowed to push yourself to the point of failure. I exercise, and I, like most people who exercise, have what we call our personal best. That's the best performance we've been able to achieve. And what I find really beautiful and what I love to be part of is having someone ask me to give them a helping hand, perhaps to spot them. They're about to lift a certain amount of weights and they need someone behind or around or with them to watch, just in case they don't have the power or the strength to complete the routine. But bodybuilding welcomes that failure, because at the point where you hit the limit where you can't do much more, that is when you start to break beyond your personal best. I used to have this thing that I did back in the day when I used to train much more than I do now. And that was, let's assume that my best performance in bench press was, say, 100 kilograms. This was profound. I used to struggle for a number of years to achieve my personal best. And then I changed my approach. At the time, I think at the time my personal best was 100 kilograms for bench pressing. But I would normally start off the exercise maybe by doing, starting with 60 kilograms. And I walk up to my best. And then I realized, I said, I've got to change something. So what I started doing was I would come in and I would begin with 100. I would do 100 kg as my first rep. I might do 1 or 2 because it was my first, and then I would exhaust all of my energy. The next day, I would come in, and if I was going to work on a different body part, I would warm up with 100. The next day, which would be the third day, I would come in, and I would now warm up with 105. And I would have someone around me to spot me, because I knew I couldn't do it. And I would struggle, and they would lift it off me. The next day I would come in again and I would try 105. This is the fourth day. And I would struggle, but I would do better than I did the previous day. Remember that maybe I'm not working on my chest. muscles that particular day. But what I was trying to do was start my workout routines with failure. Now, what I found, which was profound, is that by the 5th day, when I came in, when I used to previously start with 60, I found that I could start with 75, and I could push up to 100, and I could do 102.5 kilograms, meaning that I'd push my personal best from 100 to 102.5, which is beautiful. I could only have done that because I was willing every day to put myself under the position whereby I knew I was going to fail. I had someone around me, but I was going to fail. And knowing someone was there with me meant I had this support system that I knew would catch me in case I fell. So don't wish that it was easier. Wish that you were stronger. Wish that you were wiser. And wish that you were better. There's a profound ancient story that I find fascinating. The story is about King Solomon, who is regarded as the wisest and the wealthiest person who ever lived. He was a son of King David. We know of King David from the story of David and Goliath. The account of the story says that at the point when David was about to pass away, he'd come to the end of his life, and he decided that he was going to make Solomon king. Solomon was crowned as king, but he was a very young boy. Very young boy. He was a teenager. The account of the story says that Solomon prayed. But what I found fascinating, unlike any other king, most kings and most people will wish for more wealth, more money, bigger territory. It says that Solomon prayed and asked for wisdom. He said, "Give me wisdom so that I can have the ability to lead my people. I can have the understanding to effectively discern what needs to be done right, and I can have the knowledge to guide this great kingdom that I've inherited towards more prosperity." He asked for something very different to what any other king would have asked. He asked for wisdom. And that has always stayed with me, because every time things do not work out in my life, every time I do something that it doesn't work out, I ask myself, what is it that I do not know? What wisdom am I lacking? What law of life am I ignoring? Or what law have I broken? Because life operates by laws. What have I disregarded? What have I assumed not to be important and therefore I neglected? And all of those questions lead me down a path of saying, you need to acquire more wisdom. You need to try and gain more understanding. So rather than wish for life to be easy, welcome the challenges from life. But focus on yourself. Because there are a few things you can't control in life, I've come to realize. You can't control the weather. You can't control other people. Well, except you're a dictator, or you do it by force, or maybe you're in a superior position. But even if you were trying to control people in that way, they're not doing it willingly. You can't control how people think. Even if you try to control them physically, you can't control how they think. You can induce and create an environment that can influence their thinking, but you don't choose the thoughts that go into their head. They have to choose it themselves. You can't control the government directly. So there are a few things that I've learned in life that you can't control. One of the things I know that you can control is yourself. You can control your emotions. You can control your focus. You can control what you look towards. You can control what you focus on. You can control what things mean to you. You can control how you respond to things. You can control the meaning you associate with events. You can control yourself. And I think that's the best thing to focus on. And one of the best focuses that you must have is saying, well, I'm going to focus on being the best that I can be. And I'm going to achieve that goal by seeking wisdom. I'm not going to wish that the environment was better or easier. I'm going to wish that I was bigger, that I was stronger, that I was more prepared, that I was more resilient, that I had the ability to solve more problems. Because you see, by wishing that it was easier, you're indirectly asking life to give you very simple problems. And you're rewarded in life in proportion to the size of the problems you solve, the quantity of the problems you solve, the attitude that you use to solve the problems, the complexity of the problems you're able to solve, the value you create in the process of solving those problems, the frequency at which you can actually do that, the intensity that you bring to the game, and more than anything, you're rewarded in proportion to the level of value that you create far above and in excess of what's expected of you. So, by wishing that you were better, you're simply saying, I want bigger problems. Meaning that the more problems you solve and the bigger they are, the higher compensation.